You know, my dad had a certain way of making wine. It was a very natural way of making wine. It pretty much fulfills what wine is all about. It's God's natural gift to us. And if you just leave it alone, it pretty much, from good grapes, takes care of itself without, if you abuse it, you'll ruin it. Dry Creek Valley is 10 miles long, and we're in the northern end of Dry Creek Valley. And we're right next to us is the dam. In fact, we always say we have the best dam view around.
I love it. That is great. And you do. Indeed you do. No doubt. Hey there, we're here today at Sbragia Family Vineyards, and I'm speaking with Ed Sbragia. How are you today?
I'm good.
Good. He's the founder and winemaker of Sbragia Family Vineyards, located on Dry Creek Road out towards the dam at Lake Sonoma. It's just such a beautiful location.
It's a long story, and then my grandparents moved into the valley about 100 years ago. My dad was born here, but then my grandfather Julia was the youngest son, went back, took care of his parents, and so my dad was raised in Italy. And then after World War I, all the brothers came over. There were 4 brothers. 3 of them came over in the 20s, up in vineyards. So I kind of took those vineyards and kept them going, and then I promised him that I would bring them to the next level. So we stand in the fulfillment of the promise. In fact, the vineyard around the winery is called La Promesa, the promise.
Such a sweet story.
It's a good story.
This also is in.
This is a Zin, and this is actually the vineyard that surrounds the winery here. So estate grown, estate produced, and this is our La Promesa Zin. La Promesa means the promise in Italian. And basically in the 80s, when my grandfather was in the throngs of the vineyard, still running them all by himself at 75 years old, and my dad was over at Beringer, my grandfather wanted to sell the vineyards, and my dad said, please, please don't sell the vineyards. I promise I'll take it to the next level. So this vineyard, this winery, all the bottle, all the labels is a fulfillment of that promise. And that's why we named it The Promise, La Promesa in Italian. With this, I'd probably have it with a little bit, maybe pork, a little bit more darker sauces, maybe.
Salud.
As well as you just get a little bit more of that darker fruit. When I first started tasting wines, everyone's talking about, oh, this reminds me of dancing through my grandmother's tulips on a Tuesday. Well, I don't really know what that tastes like, but for me, I always did the divide on whether it was red fruit or dark fruit.
Essentially grew up in the Napa Valley, even though I grew up here. My winemaking career really started there in 1976, and I stayed at Beringer in the Napa Valley for 32 years, and they have great vineyards. It takes a family to make a wine. And then coming here and starting it with with Adam and my daughter-in-law Kathy and my wife Janie, and then all the people we've hired, it is another family. Right here is my mom, and she was the first lady bartender in Sonoma County. That's a dubious honor, but this is the bar in the restaurant that my mom and dad owned from 1936 to 1946, and it's called the Ark. There's pictures of the flood of 1937, and it didn't float away, so therefore it was named the Ark and stayed that way until they sold it in 1946.
This is our 2007 Home Ranch Chardonnay. The Home Ranch vineyards come from the southern side of Dry Creek, which is the cooler side. We get a nice coastal flow coming down the Russian River and cooling the southern side of Dry Creek, which is near the town of Healdsburg in Sonoma County. Should we take a drink?
Yeah, I already did.
The room that we're in is called the Ark. It's named after my grandfather's old bar / restaurant on Russian River. This is our reserve tasting room. What we like to do here is host our wine club members. What I'm about to pour for you is our Gino Zin. This is the Zinfandel named after my grandfather, and really the wine we grew up drinking on the table. This really allows us to go back to our roots and allows us to really enjoy what we've always enjoyed. There was always a barrel of this in the back of the barn that was broken into way too early.
Brings back a lot of memories.
It really does. It really does.
And what are the characteristics of this wine?
This is more of a cooler climate Zin and more of a throwback to the old Italian table wine. So this is soft, smooth, velvety tannins, bursting with flavors, a little bit of raspberry and cherries, and that typical Dry Creek pepper, which is what we've become known for in Dry Creek.
Great, cheers.
Cheers, salud.